Now, Australia-based South African author Dr. Molapo Selepe is back in the country, and he's on a tour to promote his latest non-fiction work entitled A New Afrikan. The book was first released in Perth, Australia, back in August of last year, and it's an in-depth analysis of Africa's heritage, exploring the continent's potential and challenges. But the author joins us now to give us more details about this magnificent book. Dr. Molapo Selepe, thank you for your time, and good morning to you, and happy Freedom Day to you. Thank you for your time.
Well, thank you so much. Good morning, Tumelo.
Let's talk about A New Afrikan. Absolutely. Let's talk about A New Afrikan. This is so symbolic. I mean, we're having this conversation on a Freedom Day. There's so many conversations around the new South Africa. Is it new? A New Afrikan? Is it new? What's your perspective, especially when you wrote this book?
Well, man, I think it's amazing that you should say that it's historic. I remember this day vividly because I was a young 22-year-old in 1994 when we voted on this day. It's been 28 years since, and the question is, what have we achieved in that time? And I think there is pockets of good things that we have achieved. But again, you can't help but be despondent about the level of decay, destruction that we have seen. But it's really quite inspiring to know that, look, we have a chance. You know, there's a Africa, or a plan for Africa, which is Agenda 2063, and in the next 40 years, we've got a chance to build, but not to destroy. Yeah. And for me, that's what gives me the hope.
Right, and there's a variety of themes that you tackle in this book, A New Afrikan. One that also stands out for me is good governance. It seems, Africa's leadership capacity is often in question, in the spotlight, when we talk about good governance. What's your perspective on governance within the continent?
Well, growth demands management, and really management is part of leadership. If you don't manage your growth, you have what's called sprawl. So things which grow and they are not managed, they can grow anyhow. And I think, that's where we need a lot of investment and attention as Africans to really decide intentionally where we want to see our continent going. It cannot happen, without us planning it and being actively involved in making sure that we realize that plan. Everything that you see around you, Tumelo, has been thought or created twice. So whatever the ideas that we have in mind, the plans that we have in mind, we really have to make a point that we realize them, and that is really making sure that we implement those ideas. So implementation really demands leadership.
Right. And I want to give the readers and our viewers an opportunity to, purchase the book, get a hold of the book, the trilogy as well, to delve into your mind when it comes to these themes. But at the same time, I'm curious, Doc, because you are a medical, doctor, you are an academic, very well studied, very well traveled as well. And, from good governance in the continent to move into health, I'm just keen to know, with the pandemic, I mean, we're almost 3 years into, a global pandemic, how would you judge Africa and how they've handled health infrastructure, the health information around COVID-19, whether it's the dispersing of, the vaccine, especially compared to other countries? How do you think the continent has fared?
Well, I guess what has happened with the pandemic is that it has just reflected the problems which have been brewing. There's been a lot of problems in managing the health systems in Africa. So the problems that we have been really exposed. But it has not really exposed Africa alone. It has exposed the disparities in our world that we have over time managed to actively create a world that is so unequal. And I think it calls for a new challenges as global citizens to really create a world that is more equitable.
Right.
And for me, that's the greatest challenge that we have. And I'm sure the emerging seven or the emerging countries, that's where the growth is going to come from really in the next 30 years or so. And I think that's where we'll concentrate on to make sure that our world is more equitable.
Right.
It cannot be that the G7 should only be the countries that dominate our world.
Absolutely. And I'm going to let you go in a few seconds. Briefly, if you may, I know the book has launched already in Australia, in Perth. It's launching again in South Africa this Friday. Looking forward to the launch. I will be there personally as well. But for the reader who's about to get their hands on this book, what journey are you taking them on through this book? Briefly, please.
What an incredible account of our continent. You know, our mother continent has carried us over the years. We know that Africa is not only the cradle of humankind, but it's the cradle of human civilization. And so I give an account of our history in book 1. And book 2, it's about the current status of our continent. And book 3, it's about the future, which is quite exciting.
Yeah.
And I think we can develop an amazing future together. And I'm really looking forward to the book launch, which will be at Book Circle Capital in Melville on Friday the 29th at 6 p.m.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, Doc, you were saying?
So that's the summary of the book. Really, it's about giving us a perspective of where we come from, where we are, and giving us a topography of where we are, and what are the prospects for Africa and where we can take an advantage.
Looking forward to it, and I appreciate you coming on to, of course, the South African morning and spending your Freedom Day morning with us. Of course, looking forward to that book launch as well on Friday. Dr. Molapo Selepe, author and a medical doctor, has a beautiful range of books, of course, A New Afrikan, that you and I can enjoy.